Hey guys, I'm Noel Salas for the Surfboard Empire. Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Hypto Krypto by Haydenshapes. Now I've got two boards. They're both 5'4". This one's stock right off the rack, and this is a custom. This is gonna be fun. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. Now the Hypto's been around for years, and I'm a little late to the party on this review. However, it's one of the most requested board models for us to review since we started the show. I started with the stock 5'4", grabbing it off the racks. After a couple fun sessions, I sent Hayden Cox a text message letting him know the Hypto was up for review. He was a little bummed. He said, "What stock size did you get?" I said 5'4". He's like, "I wish I had known. I want you on a little bit more foam on the Hypto. I wish you were riding 2 3/8 thick." So what separates these two boards in dimension is the thickness. They're both 5'4", 19.5 wide, but this one's 2 1/4 thick and this one's 2 3/8 thick. And with not having enough time, as we were in the process of making the review, Hayden said, "Let me send you Craig Anderson's original board that he rode from roughly 2010 to 2013. I was a little hesitant because this one's coming in at 26.24 liters, which is right in my range. I asked him, "What's 2 3/8 coming at?" He said 27.4. And I thought, man, with both boards being EPS, 27.4 liters in my head, I'm thinking that's close to 28, which is way outside of what I like underfoot. But giving me a chance to ride Craig Anderson's iconic Hypto Krypto that he had all that cool footage on, I told Hayden, please send it. Let's get it in the review. This is going to be fun. Now, before I start talking about both boards, how they felt underfoot, and which one I like best, I want to talk about the board attributes. After riding this model, the Hypto is unique by design, so much so that it caught me by surprise. After years of reviewing boards, I run into this hybrid outline where it's wide points front from center, so they like to carve, all the foam shoved forward, so it's a great paddler, relatively low rocker. Some of the things that go through my head without even riding the Hypto is that these type of outlines have some liabilities to them. This wide nose with all the surface area, they can catch in this area. But the Hypto wasn't doing that, and I wasn't sure why at first. I mentioned that it has low rocker. How was Craig Anderson riding a 5'4", this 5'4" for that matter, in such big hollow surf and having that traction without the rocker? So then it leads me to the rail, and I'm thinking, okay, it's got a lower apex. So the rail is penetrating the surface of the wave when you put it on rail so it can hold. And when I turn it on its side here, now we're talking about from the wide point back, it's actually really pulled in. So the tail is narrow, and that's going to give it that high performance feel and get me into the pocket and give it that hold that I'm looking for. And the round pin, this little point right here, is going to actually give me some traction as it penetrates the surface also. So now it's starting to make sense to me, not only as I ride it, but as I hold the board, I can see the different things about the attributes. That's why it's getting the performance it's getting, and that's what surprised me. Now on the bottom contours, it's got a rolled V in the nose here. It goes to a single to a V double out the tail. I'm going to start on the tail first. One of the things I want to show you guys is just how subtle everything is. You see my straight edge? It's only rocking a little bit. And that really just helps the board roll over on rail smoothly and engage the rail. Now as I come up into the concaves, you can see it's super subtle. Nothing real aggressive here, right? As we come up in here, you can see even the single concave, it's not real deep like you'd see on a lot of boards that have this type of hybrid outline or shape to it. Now, as I come up in here, we're in the single, and then I want to point out right about in here is you're going to start to see that rolled V. My straight edge is starting to rock again. You see that? And the reason I wanted to point that out, as I mentioned, that the Hypto doesn't have a tendency to catch up here like most hybrid outlines. So I found the board to be fast. Why? It has low rocker. It doesn't need a lot of concave if the board's relatively flat. And I really feel like Hayden is going subtle on the concaves because he wants to keep the rail engaged and use this point on the rounded pin to give that traction and hold. Now I want to talk about the fins I chose. I started as a thruster on the Haydenshape HS1 speed generating fin, and then I changed to my new Momentum Series pivot template. Check out these waves. Now that we've seen a few waves together, board's carrying good speed, but to be completely honest with you guys, it didn't matter which thruster set I was running, the board just felt a little bit tight. For me, in smaller waves, I want the board to feel loose and playful, so some release from turn to turn really affects flow. Now for me, the Hypto, I probably wouldn't run it purely as a thruster unless the waves are bigger, and that 4 to 8 foot plus surf, that's when I'm going to want this board to tighten up a little bit, and that's going to give me the hold and the control I'm looking for. Now running this board as a quad, I've got the Momentum Series neutral template on the side fins, and in the back I have the Momentum Series pivot quad rears. Check out these waves. Now that we've seen a few waves, the quad's feeling good. It's feeling fast, loose, and the tail's a little bit more playful. And the quad setup really plays a big part in that for me. I talk about this all the time. The quad rears have that gap between them. So at the peak of a turn, I can feel it kind of get free and keep it nice and playful. And that really helps with added flow for me personally, and especially on this board. Now, when I talked about the thruster being tight, I'm going to have a pivot fin here. But for me, the reason I felt like it was tight is because I have the point on the rounded pin, really stabilizing the board. And in smaller waves, I'm not looking for that. So for me, the quad felt great. And this quad setup had the best of both carving and pivot. Now the last fin setup I ran is the Twin Plus trailer. This is Aquila IPA's twins paired with our new stabilizer. This is a great setup. Check out these waves. Now that we've seen a few waves, this twin plus trailer setup was next level fun for me. The board's feeling fast, it's feeling loose, the tail's nice and playful so I can be creative on the wave face. And it was serious at times when I wanted to do a nice big roundhouse and put the board on rail. I felt like I had the hold and pivot I was looking for. Like the stabilizer and the point in the round pin were actually working together. So even when the waves were overhead, I felt like I had control, but it took the board and it had that X factor that I was looking for. Now that I finished board and fin testing, on the stock 5.4, we got Craig's board in the water. I started with my favorite fin setup, the twin plus trailer, because it only has 3 boxes. Check out these waves. Now that we've seen a few waves, Craig's board with this twin plus trailer setup felt great. Hayden, you were right. 2 3/8 thickness, giving me a little bit more foam. I felt like I was surfing faster with less effort. The board had more flow, and I didn't sacrifice performance. One thing I did notice, and it didn't matter which 5.4 I was riding, is that since there's so much foam forward on the Hypto, that if my front foot was back a little bit, I felt like it messed with the swing weight. Meaning the front end of the board felt a little bit heavy through turns, and it would dictate what the board was doing as I was doing that turn. So you want to surf this board with your front foot up a little bit, and it'll increase speed and drive. Now, if I had to choose one over the other, I'm going to take Craig's board, get that extra volume, I'll catch more waves, have more fun, and not sacrifice performance. Now, the last thing I want to mention is the Future Flex construction on Craig's board. Remember, this board he was riding in 2010 to 2013. That makes this board 11 years old. I'm riding it in a review, and I'm comparing it to a fresh one off the rack. And I didn't notice any difference in pop, projection, and the way the board feels underfoot. You'd think there'd be some fatigue in the design, but this board felt as fresh as the stock 5.4. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Hypto Krypto by Haydenshapes. I'm calling it a one-board quiver, best suited for that lower end, intermediate, all the way to expert level surfers. I think you can have fun on it, groveling in 1-foot surf, and the ceiling after what Craig did on this board, I don't know how big I would push it, but if you're gonna push it in bigger waves, put a good thruster set in it. I think you guys will be stoked. Special shout out thanks to Hayden for sending these boards down for review. Look, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.